So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show. So if you are a millennial, or you're listening, and you have a child that's a millennial, a grandchild that's a millennial, or whatever it is, the millennial generation is a little bit unique in terms of how they handle their thought process for buying and selling real estate. And I think there was an article this week that kind of prompted me to talk about it since Nathaniel's on the show, and I'm sure you have friends that are experiencing this, but it seems like millennials are, they're green-lighting buying real estate before kids, before marriage. We're seeing more single millennial home buyers than I think expected, and it's just different, and so there were statistics in this article that talked about how millennials are more likely to buy a home pre-marriage than other generations were. Other generations were, you get married, you have a child, you get a pet, and then you buy. I'm sure you have friends that's exactly their thought pattern. They're going and buying a home as a single person.
Right, exactly. I've definitely seen that trend, so it'll be interesting to see how things progress. But yeah, it's definitely a new way, different than what our parents might have gone through or even our grandparents. So definitely the times are changing, and I'm seeing a lot more friends purchase in their 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
Some still, like we talked about, are renting maybe because of the misconception that you need a certain amount down, or maybe misconceptions about the market. So
yep.
There's still some that are in my age range that are a little bit hesitant, but
yeah.
Definitely I think the article speaks the truth on that.
Well, and I think the other part about it that I liked, that I think is intriguing, is that they're starting that process of financial responsibility a little bit sooner, because the thing I've learned with a 15-year-old daughter is they don't teach anything about money, balancing a checkbook, handling money, handling financials, handling credit card. They teach you nothing about any of that in school, like zero. So a lot of kids come out and they get into credit card debt and student loan debt, and then they don't really get a proper financial education. By becoming a homeowner earlier, they're kind of learning on the fly. They're learning more responsibility. It may even arm them and prepare them better for marriage and kind of merge into finances by figuring out what some of those things cost ahead of time. But we are seeing a trend where more millennials are buying. I remember a year and 2 years ago, we were like, all right, millennials, come on, let's start buying houses, and its stats were just so low. And now they're the largest, at least in Florida, they're the largest home buying generation right now.
And it's not very close, I don't think. Isn't it something like 40-some
yeah,
percent
they're
of
a
buyers?
very large percentage of home buyers in Florida right now. And Florida specifically is surprising, because a lot of people think of Florida as, it's an older demographic, right. It's a retirement area. But the largest home buying generation right now is millennials.
Right, well, and I believe in the Tampa area, the average age is like 38. So,
yeah.
that it's not very far off from being millennials for the average age in our area.
And Nathaniel, you mentioned this, and I think this is important, and it's a good topic for Mike too, what holds millennials back from buying. And we know that they're more likely to have credit card or student loan debt. Yes. We know those are things. But I think the misconception about down payment is a big one.
Mm-hmm. That's a huge one. I think a lot of people still think about the whole 20% down, and that deters a lot of people from even taking the next steps with speaking with a mortgage lender or speaking with us on our team, other agents. So I think it's really important just to have that communication with them about the reality of the situation now, and having some lower down payment options, having down payment assistance, talking about the benefits of home ownership as opposed to renting. So there's a lot of information that we can get to millennials, especially to make sure they're well informed and make sure they're making good decisions, especially like you mentioned with a rising student loan debt and credit card debt. I think millennials are even more scared to make big decisions like the purchase of a home.
And again, a lot of millennials had witnessed their parents go through the Great Recession,
exactly.
So they got some hesitation. But the reality is, 3%, 5%, 10%, 0%. There are much lower down payment options out there with a variety of loan products than 20%. But that is what they've learned, because that was likely what their parents taught them, or their parents taught them that's what they should do.
Right.
But times have changed. It's definitely not the same. Anymore.
Right. And buying a home, I would say outside of inheriting a ton of money or winning the lottery, is the quickest way to grow your net worth as well.
Correct.
So, and I think a lot of millennials know that as well, and they want to buy homes quicker than in the past.
And it prompted thinking about this article. A couple of weeks ago, we put down some money to start, presenting at marriage conferences, like wedding planning conventions and things. So we're having a booth at some of these trade shows where, we talked to people about, home buying and home selling, and they sent us some demographic information, because they polled their people over the years, and surprisingly, there were a lot of them that were already homeowners. I think we just assumed, just based on, typical, belief system, that most of the people there are about to get married and they're going to go buy their house together. And it was surprising how many people were already homeowners that were likely going to be upgrading and moving to a bigger house. But they already owned one. So the pool of people isn't as first-time homebuyer driven as we thought. And also the demographics. I know when I look at it, I thought, these are going to be all young people that are, going to this, this marriage, trade show, this wedding trade show thing, to get wedding cakes and photographers and all these things. And when I looked at the demographics, it was surprisingly older than I expected, because I think people are naturally waiting a little bit longer to get married now. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems that people are waiting a little bit longer and kind of experiencing life first before
Correct.
Jumping in, which...
Yep.
Is a good way, or you can just go like me and never get married.
Oh, I don't know about that, Yates. I don't know. We'll see about that. So we're going to continue our conversation after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show.